Interesting conversations with interesting people about community-based events and issues. That's the mission statement each and every week here on the Our Town program on 94.9 and 99.1 The River. My name is Darren Swenson. Our Town brought to you by Decorah Bank and Trust. 5 interview guests on the program this morning. Next week is Fire Prevention Week. We'll talk about Fire Prevention Week with Steve Vandenbrink from the Decorah Fire Department. Coming up here in a few weeks, the election. Information about how to make sure you're registered to vote. If you want to vote early, how to do that, what you need to do if you're going to the polls on election day. We will give you everything you need to know with Winneshiek County Auditor Ben Steines. Clayton Burke will join us from the Iowa DOT. He will provide an update on the Lansing Bridge project. Coming up next Wednesday night is the Fields of Faith event, and that will be held at Waukon High School. Chris Wuebker will join us to talk about that event. But first things first, coming up this weekend. Great weekend to go to Spring Grove every day. Every weekend is a great weekend to go to Spring Grove or be from Spring Grove. This weekend, it's Oofta Fest coming up in Spring Grove this weekend. And Jess Morken will bat leadoff to tell us all about Oofta Fest. This is Our Town. It's brought to you by Decorah Bank and Trust. And you've got your dial set or your smart speaker set to 94.9 and 99.1 The River. This weekend in Spring Grove, a lot of fun will take place, but a lot of fun takes place all the time in Spring Grove. Joining us to tell us all about Oofta Fest is Jess Morken. And Jess, all the fun begins Friday, continues until Sunday. Tell us about the schedule of events. Let's first start with Friday night.
Well, Friday night, we have our 3rd annual Old Time Barn Dance. That's presented by the Giants of the Earth Heritage Center and sponsored by Ye Olde Opera House. Like I said, it's the 3rd annual one. They have a great time. Everyone should check it out. There's nothing like a party in an old barn. So they'll have 2 bands going too as well. So.
And from what I understand, there's going to be certain events that will be taking place all 3 days of Oofta Fest. Tell us about those.
Well, we actually start off Oofta Fest on Thursday with our garage sales. So those garage sale maps are available at area businesses as well as on our Facebook page, Spring Grove Area Chamber of Commerce. And then there'll be things going on around town. The Norwegian Ridge Birding Trail is open to anyone. There's sidewalk chalk that will be on display. And then, like I said, the garage sales. And then more events start on Saturday as well.
And as if you had the cue cards ready to go, as I was flashing them to you as we have this conversation, a big day of activities coming up on Saturday. And looking at the schedule, seemingly there's something for everyone.
There really is. We have kids events going on in the park. It's starting at 10. We have a bounce house, pony rides, the really popular corn pile. And then as well as vendors in the park for the adults to do some shopping. But it actually starts off at 8 a.m. There's a family hike that's going on that's sponsored by Rooted in Education. And then we have our egg bake breakfast that the Chamber of Commerce is actually putting on. And that starts at the Fest Building at 9 o'clock and goes until 10:30. And then again, there's pumpkin carving, and that's for all ages. And that's sponsored by West Main Boutique and the Stratford Salon. And then there's like events starting at 10 in the park, and those are again for all ages.
And that night and that afternoon, a lot of stuff continuing with games, volleyball, food, a 10K race, and tell us what will go on Saturday afternoon through Saturday night.
Yep. So actually the race is a 0.10K. That's the tricky part if you notice the little decimal. So it's really just a run from the Legion to the distillery. It's kind of a fun little reason to get together. Last year we had great attendance and people wore costumes, ran with wagons, kids enjoyed it. It's literally just a run around the corner, but it's so much fun. And it's really just another way to come to town and enjoy it without doing too much work because a 10K is kind of far. And then there's the chair volleyball, like you said, is at the Legion in the front room. This is greatly attended by some of our older people. They tend to like to do that during senior dining, but it's really a game for anyone because it's not easy to sit in your chair and hit that volleyball. So, and then there will be a Texas Hold'em tournament at the Lions Pub. and new this year, a rock, paper, scissors tournament at the Rock Filter Distillery. And then it ends at 7 with a movie in the park at the Fest building. And that's going to be a really fun movie, great for all ages, and there will be snacks available as well.
And a lot of food going on this weekend. I did notice that pork burgers and pork chops in the park from the Spring Grove Athletic Boosters. It's my supper every time I go to Spring Grove and call a football game. If you don't get one of those, you're missing out.
Yep, those Spring Grove Athletic Boosters do great things for the kids, and this is their major fundraiser. And selling pork burgers and pork chops on a stick are, it's a staple, like you said, at every football game. So they'll be serving starting at 11, I believe, right on the edge of the park. There is other food available. Obviously, Fat Pat's is open. There'll be a pop-up shop for sourdough bakery at the West Main Boutique, but pork burgers seem to be a big hit.
And then things wrap up on Sunday. And what is a state of Minnesota celebration without a hot dish contest?
Exactly. Our second annual community hot dish contest. It's sponsored by the Sons of Norway, and it'll be at the Giants of the Earth Center. Just come. You can eat. If you pay I believe it's almost $5, I think, to eat and sample all the hot dishes. But it's great. I mean, there's so many versions of a hot dish. You can't even believe it. I'm from Wisconsin. We called it casseroles, but it's a hot dish now. So,
well, if you call it a casserole, are you disqualified then?
I think so. That's why I don't enter.
Fair enough. And you'll be having the scavenger hunt for kids winners drawing at noon that day as well.
Yep.
Anything else we're missing? Anything else you need to pass along as you got the forum this morning?
Well, exactly. There's a painted gnome contest again this year. They have painted wooden garden gnomes that's being sponsored by Merchants Bank and Giants of the Earth. So you can pick up those and display those in your window. The pumpkin carving contest, like I said, there's a coloring contest that's being sponsored by Top Dog, and you can get those pages at Top Dog or print them out online. The scavenger hunt, like I said, at Reds, and those winners will be announced on Sunday. But all of this can be found at uftafest.com or by visiting the UFTAFest Facebook page.
And it's one of the cool things about a small town celebration, everybody coming together just to make sure it's a good time had by all. The support that the community provides this fest as someone who's helping organize it, that has to make you guys feel very good, I'd imagine.
It is great. We have a lot of great area sponsors. You can see those. Be sure to thank them if you see them in the park. Just a few of them are Grove Plumbing, Red's Hometown Market, Blue Ribbon Bakery, Merchants Bank, WinMed is actually sponsoring, Spring Grove Fitness, Fat Pat's, Johnson Livings. The list goes on, and we couldn't do it without those sponsors because they really are the heart of this community as well. So these businesses.
All right. You give one final invitation for folks to come to Spring Grove this weekend for UFTAFest.
UFTAFest, starting as early, our garage sale starts as early as Wednesday, but starting Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We look forward to having you guys all here.
All right, Jess, we appreciate you taking some time to tell us all about UFTAFest coming up this weekend at Spring Grove. Always a fun time in Spring Grove. Best of luck. Weather is looking great for this weekend, and no reason for people not to come up and have a UFTA good time, right?
Exactly, Darren. Exactly.
Thanks for the time.
Thanks, bud.
All right, Jess Morken, Dr. Morken, as I call her, joining us to tell us about UFTAFest coming up this weekend in Spring Grove. Coming up next Wednesday in Waukon, it is a Fields of Faith event. And here to talk about the Fields of Faith event is Chris Wuebker. And Chris, first of all, before we get into the specifics of the event itself, what is Fields of Faith? Explain it to us.
Yeah, so it's an opportunity for all local communities to kind of come together and hear some testimony from a speaker, and then it's actually presented by kids and organized by kids with the aid of some adults, and bringing a lot of local communities together out for the same reason as far as their faith, and show the support. And then it's a nationally recognized time to do it as well. So it's not only locally for Waukon, but nationally. There's large events going on throughout the whole United States.
And tell us about the event that will come up next Wednesday night in Waukon.
Yeah, so the kids have been working hard. It's for October 9th, and it's at 7 p.m. at the high school field. And there's a main speaker. That's his name is RJ Summerall. He was an Iowa State athlete, and basically he's going to talk about when God got a hold of him in his life before a big game against Nebraska in 2007. And he works with a lot of students and his discipline with young people in their walk with Jesus. And so it's going to be a really fun speaker, and obviously an Iowa State football athlete. And so I know the Iowa State football fans in the area would love to hear him talk as well.
And what do young people get out of an event like this?
So it's to show that there's other individuals and adults that are strong in their faith and support each other, and people of all different kinds of faiths come together and show their belief and be able to have an opportunity to talk. And there'll be some students that go up and talk and share some of their experiences about their faith as well, and present to the crowd as well. It's just a great opportunity to bring everyone together.
And seemingly, from what you're telling me, it's just one of those opportunities for young people to be a part of something bigger than themselves. And in today's day and age, and it's probably been the truth for quite some time, that probably can't be understated in its importance, correct?
No, absolutely. Like I said, this is a national event, and to be able to have something hosted locally here and have such a great group of kids that participated in it, from Waukon, Decorah, New Hampton in the past. I know Cresco has, to get a group of kids all together from all different kind of communities to come together and work together to put something on like this for their community is a pretty neat and fun thing to watch as well.
And I believe Waukon has hosted this event for quite a few years, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Yeah. I just recently became a part of it, so I don't know how long they've been doing it, but it's been quite some time. But it's a great thing for the community, and obviously with hopefully the weather holds for us, and it's a great time of year to be outside and be able to see the sunset and get together as well.
What you mentioned, you recently became a part of this organization. What motivated you as an adult to become a part of this and offer your experiences and your knowledge to young people seeking to share their faith?
I was a student athlete myself. Actually graduated from Luther College and had sports there. I have a strong faith. I was raised with a strong faith, and I'm not afraid to talk about it with people. And so it's good to show younger generation as well that adults do have conversations like this, and to go out and have conversations is a good thing. And even in athletic events, know that you can compete and you can be a part of something there, but there's bigger things in life as well to learn about out there as well.
Anything we're missing? Anything else the public needs to know about the event coming up next Wednesday night?
No, we just hope to see everyone there, and we really appreciate coming out and supporting the kids that have put their time and efforts into this, and really look forward to the opportunity, to get the word out there and talk about, faith in our communities.
And give us the final who, what, where, when, and why about the Fields of Faith event coming up next Wednesday in Waukon.
Yeah, please come out to Waukon October 9th at 7 p.m. at the Waukon High School football field. There'll be a bunch of volunteers in white shirts that'll help lead you out. Bring a lawn chair so you have some place to sit, because you'll be on the field itself. And so you'll want a blanket or something like that to sit on and listen to the great speakers.
Chris, we appreciate you taking the time to tell us about the Fields of Faith event coming up next week. We thank you for the time, and we thank you for what you do for young people in our community.
Thanks so much for the time and the opportunity to talk.
Chris Wuebker discussing the Fields of Faith event next Wednesday night in Waukon at Waukon High School, 7 p.m. start time. With Election Day on the precipice, I don't know if that's a proper use of the word, but I wanted to sound intelligent at the very least. But we wanted to make sure that folks are as informed as they can be in preparing to vote and registering to vote and making sure their voice gets heard on November 5th. Join us to tell us about the election process is Winneshiek County Auditor Ben Steines, of course, in Decorah, big school election that day, and presidential election, everything else that will go before the polls on November 5th. And Ben, as for making sure you are registered to vote, what do folks need to keep in mind on that end of things?
So voters that are registered by October 21st will have their names already in the voting rolls when they come in to vote. All voters are required to show ID, so those voters will still have to show ID, but they won't have to do any additional paperwork when they vote that day. If you aren't voted by that time, there is still a process to register at the polls. So it isn't a requirement, but it makes it quicker and easier if you do get registered beforehand. Anybody who's voted in the last probably 6 years basically would still be registered if they haven't done anything to move or change make other changes to their registration. So they could most people will already be registered.
And if you have moved since the last election or the last time you voted, what do you do?
Yep, you'll want to be sure if you have moved, and you can get that updated address information to us by October 21st. Then you'll be in the poll books when you go to vote on election day, and you won't have to provide that additional documentation. If you fail to do that, if you forget or you just don't get it taken care of, then you'll want to bring proof of your new address, proof of residency, with you so that the poll workers can get your address updated. That can be as easy as just your driver's license that you're showing as your ID. If your address is updated on your driver's license, that will work. If it's not, then you'll want to bring something like a utility bill or a bank statement or a payroll stub or something to show what your new address is.
And can you register to vote online, or do you have to do that in front of your auditor's office? How does that process work?
So the form, if you want to do it on paper, is available many places, including on the auditor's office website and the Secretary of State website, but many other places like public libraries and post offices and so on also have the forms available, or they're obviously available in our office. There is an online registration portal where you don't have to use any paper. You just have to enter information. But at this time, the state only has that available for people who have an Iowa driver's license or Iowa ID card, because they're piggybacking on the Department of Transportation's computer system. So if you do have an Iowa driver's license or Iowa ID card issued by the DOT, go ahead and you can register online, but it still uses the same deadline, October 21st.
And when it comes to absentee balloting, when can you request an absentee ballot be sent to you? When will those ballots be sent? When can you come to the auditor's office to vote early? Yeah. How does all that work?
Right. You can request a ballot anytime now. We've been accepting requests since the end of August. We have several hundred requests already submitted, and the envelopes are already stuffed and waiting. And so state law is we can't mail those out until October 16th. So if you're planning to vote through the mail, you can turn in your request form anytime now. The last day we can mail them out is that same date I mentioned before, October 21st. That's the date that you have to be pre-registered, and it's also the last day we can mail ballots out to voters. If you don't want to vote through the mail, but you still want to vote early, we do have absentee balloting in the auditor's office. That will also start October 16th, the same day we mail them out. And that will last right up through the day before the election, November 4th. Our normal business hours are Monday through Friday, 8 till 4. We will also have voting on the Saturday before the election on November 2nd, and we'll be open 8 till 5 that day as well. So there'll be plenty of opportunities if people want to get the voting done ahead of time, either by mail or in person starting October 16th.
And when it comes to voting at the poll, as I know Iowa has a voter ID law, when you're requesting a ballot through the mail, how do you make sure it's that person that will get that ballot?
Right. If you do it through the mail, you will need to list on your request form either your driver's license number or your voter PIN number, personal identification number. If you don't have a driver's license or Iowa issued ID, you would have already been sent a voter ID card with a PIN number on it. So you'll need to find that information if you don't have an Iowa driver's license. That's through the mail. If you vote ahead of time in our office, it's the same process as on election day where you'll have to just show your ID when you vote.
And when folks go to the polls on November 5th, what do they need to keep in mind when casting their ballot if they're doing so in person that day?
Right. You'll have to bring an ID. That is Iowa's current law is a voter ID. There's a list. Most people just use their driver's license, or like I mentioned before, if you don't have a driver's license or Iowa ID, you would have received a voter ID card. If you can't find your ID card or have misplaced your driver's license or something, there's some other documents that are also meet the requirement, like a passport or a military or veterans ID card, student ID card with your photo and an expiration date and so on. So if you have questions about what is accepted, you can look at the Secretary of State has a whole page on what are accepted documents for different situations, or you can just give us a call and we can help you out.
And how do residents find out where they need to go if they're going to the polls on November 5th?
Yeah, so some residents, well, if they aren't frequent voters, if you're one of the, we have quite a few registered voters that only participate when it's the presidential election, and so if you're in that case, your polling place may have changed since the last time you voted, because in 2020, after the census, we did a redistricting and reprecincting process in 2021. So there were some people were assigned to new polling places starting in 2022. So if you haven't voted since 2022 and you want to confirm where your polling place is, there's a tool on our website. It's winneshiekcounty.iowa.gov on the election information page that says find your polling place. You can use that tool, or you can look at your voting. We mailed every resident in the county a acknowledgement card that just said that you are registered to vote and telling you where you needed to vote. We did that in 2022 just so people knew where their new places were if they had new places. If you happen to go to the wrong place on election day, the poll workers there will tell you where you need to go and the address of the correct place. So that's your fallback. If you voted in the 2022 gubernatorial election or in the primary election earlier this year or last year at the city and school election, it'll be the same polling place for this election. Every November through the 2031 election cycle in November, you'll go to the same polling place, and then there'll be a re-precincting again that every 10 years.
Anything we're missing, Ben? Anything else the public needs to know before they cast their polls or cast their ballots, I should say, here in a few weeks?
Yeah, just be sure to allow a little extra time. The ballot is very lengthy. It's one of the biggest ballots we've ever had. It is a 17 inches long ballot. There are, of course, everyone knows the presidential, and a lot of people know their congressional and state House and Senate candidates are up, but also there's local county candidates. If you live outside the city limits, there are township candidates or township offices on the ballot. There's soil and water, hospital trustee, ag extension candidates. That's all on the first side of the ballot. Then the back side of the ballot includes 8 judge races, whether you want to retain judges in their current positions. There's 2 state of Iowa constitutional amendments on the back, as well as for those people who live in the Decorah Community School District, there is the bond issue question on the back of the ballot. So it is a very lengthy ballot. It is important to people know if they decide to skip any of the separate races or questions, that doesn't affect the validity of their ballot. They can just choose to vote the things that they wish to vote. And the people have already been asking that Decorah Community School District bond issue question is the last thing on the ballot. There is state law that sets out the order of the different races and things, and that happens to end up last in the order of things. So if you got some of those candidates you want to make sure you mark on the front, and you want to flip over and skip all the way to the last thing, that's where that Decorah school bond issue is.
All right, Ben, good information, good things for folks to know before they cast their ballots here in a few weeks. Appreciate taking the time to make us all more informed like you usually do.
Yeah, no problem.
Actually, you do it all the time, I should say. It's not just a usual thing. You do it all the time. We appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Ben Steines, Winneshiek County Auditor with election information. Getting an update from Clayton Burke here with the Iowa DOT on the Mississippi River Bridge at Lansing. We haven't talked to him in about a month and a half. Last time we talked to him was about the restart of the project after the high water in the month of June. And Clayton, I guess in general, where is the project at? What's happening as we speak?
Hi, Darren. Yeah, the project is progressing pretty well. So we actually just hit a major milestone. We installed the last of the 3 major casings on the pier that's in the middle of the river. So we're all really excited about that, and we're excited about what's to come on the bridge. The contractor is going to keep working on both sides of the river now. So you'll see activity both on the Iowa side as well as the Wisconsin side. And they're looking good out there, Darren.
Obviously, you got behind with the high water in the month of June. How would you say the catch-up process is going to this point, or are you ahead of where you were at least when you restarted?
Yeah, we have been working a little bit to get some of that time back. There's very limited there's very limited ways to be able to make up that time, and typically it's things that you don't like to do, like working weekends and working late shifts. And we have been working some weekends here recently, so we're catching up a little bit, but there's definitely still a lot more work to be done to get right back on schedule.
As we talk to you here in early October, obviously the day is a lot shorter than when you started this project back in the spring. Do the shorter days, does that constrict any ability to do work on the bridge?
Not yet. So the contractor is working standard shifts still. So your typical 7 to 5 shift, and we still have daylight for those hours. So no impacts yet.
And I know there have been some intermittent closures on the still standing bridge over there just for safety reasons as you construct a new bridge and putting those piers in. Are those closures done for the time being, or are they still happening?
They are done for the time being, since those casings have been installed in the river. We were, concerned that sometimes the vibration of the casings, and you combine that with the vibrations from some of those heavy trucks that go over the bridge. We just didn't want to take any chances, so we just closed the bridge for those short periods of time. But yeah, now those closures are done.
How long do you plan on working here this fall?
I think we'll be working all through the winter.
Okay.
Yeah, got to make hay while the sun shines.
Well, I suppose so, but just in general, does winter restrict anything that you can do, or for the most part, can you maintain a pretty normal schedule during the winter months?
Yeah, it definitely brings new challenges, particularly when you're pouring concrete. So you have to keep the concrete from freezing in the wintertime, and that means you're going to use more insulated blankets, and you have to cover the concrete with those, and it takes longer to cure the concrete. So it's definitely not ideal, and if we could get away with not having a winter, we would, but it's better than not making any progress at all.
But we live in Iowa, so that ain't happening, right?
Right.
But I would assume at the very least, the longer you have to wait for snowfall, the better it will be for as much work as you need to get done and want to get done, at least here in this calendar year. Is that a safe assumption?
Absolutely. Yeah. Nobody likes to work in the snow. It means that the contractor has to take more time to clear that snow off the construction site before they can work safely. And of course, workers don't like working in the cold as well. The warmer it is, the better out there.
That's what's on my notebook, Clayton. Anything else in your mind that the public needs to know as we talk here in early October about this project?
No, just keep an eye out for work on both sides of the river now. There may be some changing street closures in Lansing between Henry Street, Hale Street, and Front Street. So keep an eye out for news on that, and just keep watching us build the bridge.
And what's the best way for folks to stay informed on those street closures that you just touched upon?
I would watch our Facebook page, for the project Facebook page, as well as potentially maybe some news, some radio announcements, or our public website that we have.
All right. And you know how to get a hold of me via email, so we'll definitely pass on any information that you want to pass on to the public related to this project. Clayton, appreciate the time and appreciate the update. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Darren.
Clayton Burke, Iowa DOT, getting an update on the Mississippi River Bridge at Lansing. Next week is Fire Prevention Week, and here to talk about Fire Prevention Week is Steve Vandenbrink from the Decorah Fire Department. And Steve, when you look at the week itself, what do you want to pass on to the public? What is the important messages the public needs to know in regards to Fire Prevention Week?
Yeah, so Fire Prevention Week just highlights the reason why we do fire prevention, what maybe new slogan they've come up with on a national basis to make sure people stay safe in their homes and at work. And this year's slogan is smoke alarms, make them work for you. So October 6th through the 12th is designated the Fire Prevention Week. Locally here, we're going to be hosting several classes from John Klein and from St. Ben's here at our fire station, and along with the other preschools in town. They'll either come or we'll visit them, talk about fire prevention, fire safety, what a firefighter looks like, how quick they have to get dressed, all those good things, all those fun things that you want to learn as a kid. But as an adult, we need to be really thinking about beyond that. Knowing that, hey, our smoke alarms in our house, how old are they? If they're 10 years old, it's time to get a new one. The newer ones actually are very efficient at detecting fire. Darren, back when you and I were growing up and had home fires, we had about 17 minutes to get out. Today, you have about 3 to 4 minutes to get out. And that's because of all the things that we've come to like to put in our home. The furniture is made differently. And the things that start to burn, they burn rapidly, and they put off smoke and chemicals that can asphyxiate you or make you stop breathing quickly. So it's really important now to have those smoke alarms. Every level of every home, outside the bedrooms and in the bedrooms. And the best way is to make sure they're all interconnected. And today, with us being connected, phone and everything else, boy, you can make this thing work for you really, really easy, and know that, even if you're not at home, hey, smoke alarms are going off. Many people have cameras. They can pick up a camera and go, oh, well, there it is, or nope, it must be a false alarm. So
And
good
related
things.
to smoke alarms, you mentioned if anything's 10 years old or older, it's probably time to upgrade those smoke alarms. As for the batteries in smoke alarms, what's the good reminder to keep those batteries as fresh as possible? Because if the battery is dead, the smoke alarm isn't working.
We always say change them at least once a year. And, the other thing to think about is, well, how do I change that? You used to be, we could change it, when time changes. Well, time changes begin in March and November. So, one is a longer time period, the other one's a shorter time period. Um, you know, you have birthdays, circle a birthday, or two birthdays that are about 6 months apart. Circle them. Hey, change batteries. Okay. Make sure that they're fresh and good and that they're always there. And ideally, you're following their manufacturer recommendation, which includes testing them either on a weekly or on a monthly basis to make sure that they're working.
And related to just staying safe in the home, it was very interesting fact you just brought up. We have 3 to 4 minutes to get out of a home as compared to 15 to 20 back in the days where we were growing up, and I use growing up as a relative term. I don't know if I've reached there yet, but I digress. What other ways in general can you stay safe and avoid a fire from starting? Because if you can avoid a fire from starting, you can stay out of trouble to begin with.
Exactly. If you think about how fires start in the home, most home fires are still caused by cooking. And so having that lid next to your pan that you're cooking with, and if you're using grease or walking away, if you have to walk away, turn it off. Don't let it sit there and simmer, thinking, oh yeah, I'll get back to it. We multitask many things today, and cooking should not be one of them, especially when we leave the room that we're actually cooking in. So making sure that we're looking at our extension cords. Many places still, many homes still have the two-wire extension cord, and then we put all of our electronics onto that. We overload those circuits and now causes a fire. The other thing to note is on our power strips, we should be taking a look at those every time you change the batteries. Take a look at your power strips. Are there any heat areas? Because those chargers that sit on there, they create heat, and they can actually warp and cause that power strip to actually start on fire.
Always good things to be reminded of. Of course, if you do have a fire in your home or at work, many workplaces, and I know schools have fire drills on a pretty regular basis, but perhaps at home we don't practice this enough because it's one of those things that you're not expecting it to happen, so maybe we take it for granted. Well, if it does happen, you need to know what to do. What do you suggest that folks do when it comes to exiting your home, or at least practicing to do so in case of a fire?
So at the nfpa.org, they actually have very good tools for you to help yourself and your family members and your young kids to actually sit down and write an exit plan in the home and talk about, hey, how do I get out? How do I get out the second story? Do I need something like a chain ladder to get out the second story? Do I need assistance that when I call 911, maybe there's a safer room that maybe I can get to, and then I need help to get out. Making those things identifiable, but also looking at your home and keeping those paths clear, that hallway, remembering I need a clean hallway to get out. I need a clean path to get out. So, all kinds of pagers going off here, but knowing that we are want to have a plan so that we can take care of those situations, and learn that, hey, in the dark of the night, the smoke alarm's going off. What should I do? We're all getting out. We're touching the door. We're keeping our door closed at night. Very, very important thing to sleep with your doors closed. That way, when the smoke alarm goes off, you can touch the door with the back of your hand. If it's hot, you're going to pull it to your chest because you're going to come away from heat. Where if you put your hand onto the handle, the door handle, and it's hot, you're going to squeeze tighter because that's our normal reaction. So knowing those things and then saying, okay, if that's hot, I can't get out that way. Which other way can I get out? And so knowing your two ways out, very important. Talking with this about this with your kids. They do it every day. They do it several times a year in their schools. They know what the smoke alarm when it goes off. They know what that means. Get out and stay out. And that's very, very important. Get out and stay out.
And obviously to call 911 if you can, once you're in a safe location too, right?
Exactly. Make that 911 call, not at the roadway. Pick a tree in the middle of the yard or at the neighbor's house if you're living in town. We have big fire trucks, and when we show the kids how big our tires are, most of them, that walk up there, they can barely see the top of the tire. And now you have that big fire truck coming right along the road, and they're standing at their mailbox, and that's not the best place to be.
And one event that has become a pretty popular event over the last few years in connection to Fire Prevention Week is the Touch a Truck event that you put on with the Decorah Parks and Recreation Department. Tell us about this year's edition.
Oh, this year's edition, just like all the other years, and hopefully even bigger and better. October 12th from 11 to 1, we'll be at the fire station serving some hot dogs, having a little lunch, but then letting you have the opportunity to see all the big equipment that the street department and local contractors have. You get to climb on them, take a look at them, get up close to them. When they're working, we have to stay away from them. This is that time to where we can actually get up there, take a look, see how big they are. And who knows, maybe we get a couple firefighters out of the deal too. That's always good possibility. And then we do have planned the Gunderson Air helicopter to be there as well. And that's always a big draw as well.
And how important is it for everybody to just get up close and personal with these emergency vehicles, because you never want to see them in a direct connection to something you're involved in, but how important is it to make things comfortable in case the emergencies happen when you have to be on the scene of a situation involving folks?
Oh, it's very important to get up close so that they know that these big fire trucks and ambulances and helicopters, they look impressive, but they're there for you to help you, to be that person that comes in and helps you in your time of need, and that there's no reason to be afraid or to run the other way and go hide, because the fire trucks and the ambulance and the police department, we're all here to help in those situations, and we want to make them feel as comfortable as possible. We also think about those who have autism and those situations or there's conditions to where they maybe get afraid. Here's an opportunity just to expose them a little bit. And if we continue to expose them a little bit, it becomes a little easier should that big fire truck show up.
Anything we're missing? Anything else you want to touch on related to Fire Prevention Week next week?
I don't think so. It's always a good week. It's a good week to reminder of go through the house, figure out what's going on. Is there anything that could lead to smoke and fire? And then correct those things. Again, candles are another issue that comes up from time to time. People put the candles out and fall asleep. Candles will ignite, and they'll ignite and causes a lot of damage as well. So make sure you're also keeping up on your electronics with any recalls. We've seen problems with dehumidifiers and microwaves and you name it. There's probably been a recall on something, and making sure that we check those, because some of those recalls are not because of some electronic malfunction, but because they actually do start fires when they do malfunction.
All right, Steve, we appreciate you taking a few minutes with us, telling us all about Fire Prevention Week and the Touch a Truck event coming up a week from Saturday. Thank you for the time, and most importantly, thank you for what you do for our community.
Thank you.
Steve Vandenbrink with the Decorah Fire Department. Next week is Fire Prevention Week. Thank you to our guest on the program, Jess Morken from Spring Grove. Fest taking place today through Sunday in Spring Grove. Chris Wuebker telling us about next Wednesday night's Fields of Faith event at Waukon High School, 7 o'clock start time for that one. Clayton Burke from the Iowa DOT giving us an update on the Lansing Bridge project. Ben Steines, Winneshiek County Auditor, everything you need to know prior to casting your ballot on Election Day. And Steve Vandenbrink from the Decorah Fire Department. Steve with all the information you need to know about Fire Prevention Week. Don't forget, we put these shows on YouTube each and every week. We realize you're busy. You can't always be near a smart speaker, near your phone for audio purposes, near your radio at Thursday morning at 9 o'clock. But we want to bring these interesting interviews to you on your schedule. If you're out searching things on YouTube, 10-3 Our Town program is a great way to search it there. We also put the links up on all of our LA Communications Facebook pages. Doing our best to keep in touch with our communities, because that's our job. It's our number one job in radio, and that's the way we do it here at LA Communications. Thank you to our guests. Thanks to our sponsor, Decorah Bank and Trust. And we thank you, that's right, you, for tuning in, for logging on, or for watching Our Town on 94.9 and 99.1 The River.